Right. Let's address the elephant in the room, shall we? So I realise I haven't done an update on my hair transplant over the last 2.5 months. I've got a lot of comments on TikTok, under YouTube videos, people asking what the fuck went wrong with my hair. I assume they just haven't been checking in with me, and then they come back and they saw that before I had a lovely, luscious set of locks, and then all of a sudden I've fucking nothing on my head. I've been very, very surprised as to the sheer volume of men who have messaged me, who have reached out to me to say that they booked into a hair transplant after seeing the procedure that I went through. And it makes me very, very happy because I know how much of a bane it is on many men's existence, yet it's something that they feel stigmatized into admitting to or wanting to get fixed. So as a result of that, whenever I put up a question box or under every video that I post, whether YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, people keep fucking, whether sarcastically or innocently, saying, what the fuck happened to your hair, bro? So let me take you back to the very beginning. Well, not the very beginning, because that's fucking years and years of a story. So it all went back to a very dark, overcast, miserable day on William Street in the very start of August, when I was filming a video for a TikTok skit, running in and out of a chipper called Enzo's. Now for this particular scene, all I had to do was pretend to be walking into the chipper, see the menu, and then run and sprint down the street. Of what should have been a 10-second ordeal turned into something that was more like 10 minutes. And the reason for this is because I kept having to go in and out of the fucking chipper. The workers behind the counter didn't know what the fuck was going on, and neither did I, because every clip that I took I wasn't happy with for one reason and for one reason only. Because every time I ran out that door, my hair was peeled off the top of my head, and more so than any other time it made it look like I had a fucking toupee. So eventually for the final clip I had enough. I threw my hood up and I finished that scene. But when I came home I was like, this just isn't worth it for me anymore. To be as embarrassed about something, to feel as though I had to destroy my hair in hairspray for fear that it would lift off my head. So I went and I booked straight into a clinic called Now Hair Time in Turkey for a hair transplant to be done in a month's time. So fast forward until the 12th of September, the big day had arrived. And I'm not going to talk you through the procedure because I've already fucking done that. There's a YouTube video which you can watch here, which will take you through the actual process itself. But I have gotten a hell of a lot of questions from men who are considering doing the same thing, or those who have booked in for a hair transplant. So instead I'm going to distill it all into a video here so that I don't have to answer that question anymore and I can just direct you to it. So the first question that I get asked is, where did I get it done? And the clinic is a clinic called Now Hair Time in Turkey. They have like a couple of million followers on Instagram, but to be honest I think a lot of them are probably fake. But nonetheless, very, very good service, very, very happy with them. I'm sure there's a million and different clinics that you could choose in Turkey. I'd imagine they're all pretty much the same reputation, do pretty much the same job. I've seen fucking hundreds of them now at this stage. So I really don't think it's a big enough deal, provided they've got some element of social proof to them. Some pseudo hair transplant experts are probably going to pop up at the comment section saying how reckless I fucking am, then quote something from a Reddit forum as to somehow assert their authority over the topic. How have I found the process so far? Am I happy that I went with the company that I went with? Yeah, I am. I think for 2.5 months this is some pretty decent progression, and while it still looks objectively a little bit shit at this point in time, it has grown back an awful lot from where it was to begin with. So my hairline wasn't actually this far forward, believe it or not. All of this hair that you can see here, and indeed the signs of growth that you can see here with the vague outline, that's all new hair. My hairline went way back here, and it definitely wasn't as thick around this midsection, the island. It was both further back my head but skinnier here, if that makes sense. Now I'm nowhere near done. I'd obviously be getting my money back if this was the end fucking product. There's going to be another about 3.5, 4 months I think of really substantial growth, or so I'm told, or so I fucking hope, before it starts to look like the real thing. Now the only concern that I have at this point in time, and I've been told it's just a temporary thing, it's not going to be permanent, but the donor area hasn't completely grown back here. You can see that there's a patch here, and I think, I'm not too sure, I can't actually fucking see it myself, but I think there might be a patch somewhere around here. The cure for this, or so I'm told, is to just keep supplementing with minoxidil, which is a rub that you can get in pharmacies, put it on, and I have been told that it will grow back eventually, but just it's not growing back as quickly as the other hair. And even if I was to have a patch here and a patch there, I wouldn't really give a fuck because I go around with a skin fade most of the time anyway, so it's not going to be something that bothers me. Another question I get quite frequently is, do I take minoxidil and do I take finasteride? So I do indeed. You can get minoxidil in that foam form from any pharmacy in Ireland, not prescription, but finasteride is prescription in Ireland, which is why I got a rake of it when I was in Dubai last, because you can just get it over the counter there. So I have about 6 months worth of finasteride. I'm taking 1 pill a day, which is 1 milligram. Now I have been told that you should have been on a course of minoxidil and finasteride prior to getting a hair transplant, but fucking shoot me, I wasn't, okay? I've nothing to say about it so far, no side effects that I know of, and my hair seems to, in general, be doing quite well. Now, this is a question that I don't necessarily get to frequently, but I think it's worth knowing for people who are about to undergo a hair transplant. But there are certain processes and procedures that are recommended to be done once you have had the hair transplant done, which for most people it's probably not going to fit their budget. At least it doesn't fucking fit mine. So PRP and mesotherapy are two procedures that most hair transplant clinics will recommend that you get done once a month or thereabouts for the 6 months post hair transplant. But the only problem with this is that these procedures can cost in and around the region of 500 fucking euros a go. So if you're to do that for 6 months, you're essentially going to pay the price of the hair transplant for procedures which, as far as I know, and I may be incorrect on this, as far as I know, aren't 100% proven to work. Now, I've discussed this before in previous videos, but I look at it from the point of view as, okay, if there's an 80% chance or a 70% or 60% chance that this works and this improves the final result, given the fact that I've gone through the length and breadth to get a hair transplant, would I not at least do a couple of sessions to see if there is any tangible impact? I think if you really want to get the best possible result, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more. It's just the way life works. You get what you pay for. So I probably will do another handful of procedures, but it's not going to be something I'll be doing long term. I've had a couple of mates who've gotten hair transplants and they haven't undergone the procedure, PRP or mesotherapy, and their results have been just fine. Currently, I've got one PRP session, but that was complimentary as part of the transplant, and I've gotten one since I've gotten home. I'll probably get another one, see the amount of growing that has taken place, if any at all, and then make my call on whether or not I'm going to get subsequent sessions after that. So how long until the final result kicks in? So I have been told anywhere between 6 and 12, and in some rare cases 18 months until you get the final result. Now, after 6 months, although it may look like the final result, the actual hairs themselves, or so I'm told, won't be the full voluminous hairs that you can expect years down the line. It's still going to be relatively fine and not fully grown, but to the naked eye it's going to look like a normal head of hair. So given the fact that this is 2.5 months growth, I'm pretty happy with how it's proceeding so far and have no real main concerns. The only slight ones being patch here and the patch there, but we'll see in any case how the next couple of weeks goes. Now, there have been a couple of young fellas of like 19, 20, 21 who are concerned about their hairline reaching out to me. I know nothing about your situation, but I'm not going to prescribe you a recommendation based off of that. My situation is individual. It's unique to me. It was something that I was dealing with for an awful long time, and it was a conclusion that I came to over the course of many years. If you're someone who's just unhappy with their head of hair, and I see some people getting fucking hair transplants when there's nothing tangibly wrong with their hair, and some might say the same about me, where they're just filling in minor little gaps here and trying to get that ridiculously looking straight hairline. I think if that's the reason why you're getting a transplant done, I think that's very vain, and I think that's very naive. For me, my hairline was something that was definitely noticeably, was so far back my head, if it was any further there wouldn't have been fucking hair there to begin with. And I definitely do think that it's a hair transplant is not something that you should just on a whim make a decision to do. I think you should sit with it, understand if it causes you enough discomfort or if it's enough of a bane in your existence, and if it is, well then who's anyone to tell you any different? But for some people, the better option would be to just shave their head, as painful advice as that is. Now, it wasn't the option that I was willing to take, but for a lot of you, I would definitely recommend experimenting with a tighter haircut before you make the plunge to drop 3 grand and undergo 6 to 12 months of a very intensive recovery process. You may just fucking like it. So other questions were revolving around the recovery process itself. A lot of sports people, a lot of GA players reached out to me who were getting a hair transplant done. They want to know, what is the time frame away from the gym? What is the time frame to expect away from training? The reality is every clinic will differ in terms of the recommendation post-surgery. And I'm not an expert, I'm not a surgeon, I'm not a doctor, so you'll have to refer to your individual clinic. But what I was told was to stay away from heavy weight training and intense cardio for the bones of about 4 weeks. I got about 18 days into that before I went in and did my first gym session, which is very, very light, which I made a conscious effort not to push to failure or not to sweat in. But after 3 weeks, I did my first pretty intense training session, and I don't think there's anything wrong with my hair so far. Well, maybe that's why the dome area hasn't fully grown back in yet. So some clinics will say 2 weeks. I know some people were saying 10 days. I know some people who've gotten hair transplant and went back after 3 days, and I don't think they jeopardize their transplant, but I think that's fucking reckless. If you're going back to the gym really, really early, like after a couple of days, which I know some people did, you're just a fucking idiot, because why the fuck did you go through the bother of paying the money that you paid, undergoing the recovery process that you're going to have to undergo, if you're just going to fucking put that whole transplant at risk for the sake of doing a couple of bicep curls or a couple of squats? You don't lose as much muscle, you don't lose as much strength in 3 or 4 weeks as you think you're going to lose. You're not going to be walking around like a fucking scarecrow afterwards. Make sure you follow all the recommendations of your individual clinic so that you're not running back to Turkey in a year's time with your tail between your legs because you couldn't fucking help yourself and stay out of the gym. Other questions are, can you wear a cap? And the answer to this question is they recommend that you don't wear a cap all of the time, but that you definitely can wear a cap if you wish to wear a cap. In most cases, 10 days to 2 weeks after you've had your surgery, because you need to give the hair a chance to breathe. Personally, I didn't go with the option of wearing a cap. I just rock it wherever I'm going. My whole logic on it is if you're wearing a cap or you have your hood up everywhere that you go, you're essentially just cowering away from the fact that you made the decision to go get a hair transplant. And it's no one else's business what you decide to do. And in fact, it's probably a little bit narcissistic to assume that everyone else is looking at you wondering, did you get a transplant or not. Most people are too busy, too occupied with their own lives to give a fuck about the half-bald man with the scabby head walking around fucking the aisles of Aldi. So the more that you expose yourself to being in public with a shit head of hair, the easier that it gets. I'm here from the very get-go was posting photos, videos, TikToks, Instagrams, YouTubes, going to the gym, going about my day-to-day just as normal. I think that's the approach that most people should take. If you wear a cap, you wear your hood up everywhere that you go, yeah, sure, people might notice that you got a hair transplant, but they're gonna notice at one stage or another. Like, your mates just aren't going to not question the fact that you were bald as fuck 6 months ago, then all of a sudden you're coming back with a fabulous head of hair. People are gonna know one way or another, so take the power away from them and just fucking own it. So aside from that, I'm not sure if there's anything else that you really need to go over. At the end of the day, if your hair's been something that's been bothering you for as long as it was fucking bothering me, just go and get it done. If you need to refer to a surgeon, talk to an expert in the field, by all means do so. But the only person who's going to be able to decide what's best for you is yourself. So fuck what anyone else thinks. I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about is just the fact that I don't have to think about my hair anymore. I don't have to just wear my hair long because I'm so conscious of my hairline that if I want to, I can just shave it short, or I can experiment with different hairstyles. But ever since I've had my hair short, I've realized how low fucking maintenance that it is. What used to take me 40 minutes to get ready for a night out is now taking me fucking 10-15 minutes. Whenever I go outside, I don't need to worry about the wind blowing my hair a certain direction because it already looks fucking shit. I can't complain about the process so far. I can't complain about the support that my individual clinic have provided with me. I was actually quite impressed by the fact that they said, okay, yeah, maybe the donor area thing isn't so normal. It would have been very easy from them in their position over in Turkey to just wipe their hands with it and say, yeah, that's fucking normal, fuck you. But they're providing support, providing recommendations, prescriptions for me to ensure that this donor area does grow back as properly as it should, and that ultimately I get the best possible result in a couple of months' time. So that is all. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you turn on your post notifications, and if you haven't done so already and you're considering getting a hair transplant, I recommend checking out my hair transplant video from a few months ago. Take care.